So guys, welcome to our channel once again. In today's video, we have here these 20 questions to answer on the topic genetics. That's biology of heredity. So this video will be about genetic terminologies. So in short, stay till the end of this video. We're going to start with the first question here. It says, the greatest contribution to genetic studies was made by A. Gregor Mendel, B. Charles Darwin, C. Thomas Megan, and D. Robert Hooke. So guys, the answer to this question is option A here. The greatest contribution to genetic studies was made by Gregor Mendel. So Mendel's experiment with pea plants established many of the rules of heredity. It's actually now referred to as the law of Mendelian inheritance. So his work actually laid the foundation for the study of genetics. Let's consider the next question. Question number 2. It says, which of the following statements is true about broad grouping? A. Group O has no antigen. B. Group A has A antigen in its plasma. Group AB can denote, actually this should be can donate. So Group AB can donate blood to all groups. And then option D, Group O are universal recipients. So actually the answer to this question, guys, is option A. Blood group O has neither A nor B antigens on the surface of the blood, but actually has the both antibodies in the blood plasma. So that's why they are universal donors. They can actually donate to any blood group and not receive from most of them. So that's it for that question. Let's consider the next question. Question number 3 here. It says, the name given to a sudden change in a gene or chromosome that can be passed on to the offspring is A. Inheritance, B. Alleles, C. Mutation, D. Linkage. So guys, the answer to this question is option C here, mutation. When there is a sudden change in the gene or chromosome, and this can be passed on to the offspring or the next generation, it's actually called mutation. So let's consider the next question. Question number 4 here. It says, which of the following pairs of scientists discovered the rhesus factor in human blood? A. Darwin and Landsteiner. B. Hooke and Darwin. C. Landsteiner and Lavine. And D. Hooke and Lavine. So guys, the answer to this question is option C here, and that's Landsteiner and Lavine. So the next question here is question number 5. It says, which of the following is a definition of heredity? It is the A. Absence of variation in organisms. B. Total absence of parental traits in offspring. C. Non-resemblance of closely related organisms. D. Transfer of characteristics from parents to offspring. So guys, the answer to this question is option D here, and that's transfer of characters from parents to offspring. So let's consider the next question. Question number 6 here. It says, what name is given to a sudden change in gene or chromosome? So guys, we've answered this question before now, and that's mutation, option C here. So the next question here, question number 7, says, the illustration below is a genetic diagram. Study it and answer the question. What is the name of the genetic diagram? So guys, we've seen this genetic diagram here. Option A is Punnett square, B. Inheritance diagram, C. Genetic cross, D. Genetic square. So guys, the answer to this question is option A here. That's the Punnett square, which is a graphical tool or a graphical representation that is used to predict the possible genotypes of offspring in a cross between two individuals. So that's it for this question, guys. Let's consider the next question. Question number 8 here. It says, which of the following statements about blood groups in human is not correct? A. People with blood group AB are universal recipients. B, siblings may not belong to the same blood group. C, there are 4 possible blood groups. And then D, people with blood group O receive blood from all other groups. So guys, obviously option D here is the answer to this question. So the option D is not true about blood grouping. So that's the answer to this question. People with blood group O are actually universal donors and not recipients, which means that they are universal donors, means they can donate blood to all groups, and they are not universal recipients, which means they cannot receive blood from other groups. And that's it for that question. So let's consider the next question. Question number 9, it says, the genes affecting the same trait and are located at the same position on the homologous chromosomes are called A, chromatids, B, loci, C, alleles, D, autosomes. So guys, the alleles here is the answer to this question, and that's option C. Let's consider the next question. Question number 10 here, it says, which of the following statements about human blood groups is not true? A, B is dominant over O. B, A is dominant over B. C, O is recessive. And D, A and B are co-dominant. So guys, the answer to this question is option B here. The statement that A is dominant over B is not correct. So in human blood groups, A and B are actually co-dominant, which means that they cannot be dominant over the other. So that's why we can actually have blood group AB, where both A and B are actually expressed. But A can be dominant over O, and B as well can be dominant over O. So that's it for that question. Option B is the correct answer. Let's consider the next question. Question number 11 here, it says, the blood group in humans referred to as universal recipients is A, B, B, C, O, D, AB. So guys, obviously the answer to this question is AB, and that's option D. So let's consider the next question. Question number 12 here, it says, which of the following statements is true about mutation? A, phenotype is not involved. B, genotype is involved. C, artificial induction is not possible. D, genotype is not involved. So guys, the answer to this question is option B here. Genotype is involved in genetic mutation. So guys, let's consider the next question. Question number 13 here, it says, the classes of fingerprints in man are A, arc, simple, compound, and opposite. B, wall, alternate, opposite, and compound. C, wall, arc, compound, and loop. D, compound, loop, wall, and alternate. So guys, the answer to this question is option C here, wall, arc, compound, and loop. So that's it for that question. Let's consider the next question. Question number 14. It says, sickle cell anemia persisted in the human race due to A, intermediate host, B, lack of proper medical care for C class, C, carriers being more resistant to malaria, and then D, mosquito vectors. So guys, the answer to this question is option C. Sickle cell anemia has persisted in human race due to the carriers being more resistant to malaria. So this is because sickle cell trait provides a survival advantage actually. So individuals with one sickle gene are less likely to die from malaria. So actually this phenomenon is an example of polymorphism, genetic variation which leads to different traits in a population. The next question, guys, question number 15, it says, scientists who study genetics are known as A, genealogists, B, geneticists, C, Mendelists, and D, gene scientists. So guys, the answer to this question is option B here, and that's geneticists. So the next question here, question number 16 says, which of the following structure is only formed traits that may be considered in marriage counseling? We have A, color of skin, B, height, C, rhesus factor, and D, fingerprints. So guys, in marriage counseling, we actually do not consider all the other factors here apart from rhesus factor, and that's because it's actually important to consider, because if a woman is rhesus negative and the partner is rhesus positive, their child could potentially be rhesus positive, and if the rhesus negative mother's blood comes in contact with her rhesus positive baby's blood, her body will recognize the rhesus positive red blood cells as foreign and will produce antibodies against them. So this can lead to rhesus disease in their next rhesus positive baby, which can actually cause a fatal incident resulting to the death of the baby. So this is why it's important to consider the rhesus factor in marriage counseling. So that's it for that question. The next question is question number 17 here. It says, which of these statements is correct? A, in homologous chromosomes, two genes very close to each other are more likely to form recombinant meiotic prophase 1. B, a dominant gene masks the presence of a recessive gene. C, recombination at fertilization does not occur between two homologous chromosomes. And D, meiosis leads to the formation of daughter cells with diploid chromosome number. So guys, the correct answer here is option B, and that's the fact that a dominant gene marks the presence of a recessive gene. So let's consider the next question. Question number 18, it says, which of the following statements about heredity is not true? In heredity, the traits are A, always transmitted by one parent, B, carried by genes, C, transmitted from parent to offspring, D, contained in the ovum and sperm. So guys, the answer to this question is option A, always transmitted by one parent. So that's not true. The hereditary traits are actually carried by both parents and not transmitted by one parent. So that's it for that question. The next question here is question number 19. It says, the diagram below are illustration of types of comb found in domestic fowl. Which factor is most likely responsible for the variation type of comb? So we have A, physiology, B, environment, C, genetics, D, morphology. So guys, actually the answer to this question is genetics, and that's C. So let's look at the next and the last question. It says, which of these statements is true about fingerprint pattern? A, prominent only at puberty. B, correlates with the individual blood group. C, may be exactly the same for two individuals. D, consistent for lifetime. So guys, that's the answer to this question, option D, consistent for lifetime. And this is where we end this video for today. So guys, if you enjoyed this lesson, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're not a subscriber. Also, if you have any specific question regarding this video, you can drop your question on the comment section below and we'll ensure to give you a response. So we also want to encourage you to join our YouTube channel community by hitting the join button below, and we'll see you right there. So thank you once again for watching this video, and see you on the next one.